I'm here with Chris Kattan. He's the author of Baby Don't Hurt Me. He's the former co-star of A Night at the Roxbury, an amazing movie, and other movies. And he's the former star of SNL. So happy to be here with you.
Thank you for having me.
So in your book, you talk about a very unusual upbringing. Can you describe that and how it's impacted your life?
Well, without giving it away, because I do want the readers to read about everything, but I had my father was a character actor, and he was in movies like Breakfast at Tiffany's and did TV shows like Different Strokes and Family Ties and stuff like that. And he was a comedian, so he was actually one of the founding members of the Groundlings, the improv group in LA, which I later joined. But I got to watch him at 7 years old and 8 years old perform on stage with people like Phil Hartman, Paul Rubens, great Pee Wee Herman. And my mom and dad were divorced, so he lived in Sherman Oaks in the Valley in Los Angeles, and my mom lived up with my stepfather in a place called Mount Baldy, which is in the San Bernardino Mountains in California. And it's I was living in a cabin, and my stepdad was a Zen monk. So there was a Zen center that he helped build and organize. So there was Buddhism and meditation on one end, and on the other end, it was the ballet and the Groundlings. So I had my dad on the weekends, and I had the rest of my life on the weekdays. So it was an interesting balance.
What lessons did you learn from your dad, who was also in your industry?
He was my best friend, so he made me laugh more than anybody. He really did. He still does. But he taught me most everything about comedy. One of them is he taught me the roots of comedy and how important they were. Without saying it, he had such impeccable taste when it came to comedy. His favorite movies were, like he would love, like for example, he loved Marx Brothers, he loved Buster Keaton, Chaplin, W.C. Fields, the Road Pictures, he had great taste, and even growing up, watching comedy that was happening at that moment too. He loved like Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin. He just had great taste. But if it weren't for my father, I wouldn't have known anything about that comedy stuff. It was neat to know, I don't know if you're a big Marx Brothers fan or Chaplin or whatever, but he knew the specific ones. He knew that The General was better than Sherlock Jr., when it came to Keaton, or he knew that A Day at the Races and Night at the Opera was better than At the Circus, stuff like that.
What comedians and artists do you think you've most emulated, or what have you taken from them in terms of how to perform better?
Well, Buster Keaton certainly was one, because he took a lot of chances physically. Chaplin too, because he did a lot of physical stuff. I really loved physical comedy. I really appreciated that because I happened to be very agile and had a lot of energy as a child. You tend to have a lot of energy when you're around Buddhists that sit down for a long time when you're a young child. But I loved, Eddie Murphy was one of my favorites. I love Peter Sellers, the Big Panther. I pretty much love the obvious, really funny ones, It's almost like when you look in a history book of the best comedians, I really were those are the ones, But I love today, I love Steve Carell. I think it's hilarious. I think I love comedians that have a side to them where they're good actors. I think those are the ones that I tend to be drawn towards the most.
You've had some big milestones in your career. Which to you is the most important milestone, and what did it mean to you?
The important milestone in my life? Well, geez, I don't know. I was on a flight with Destiny's Child once. SNL. Well, SNL was certainly my biggest milestone. That was a dream come true for me.
How did you prepare mentally and emotionally for your first few SNL sketches?
Well, in the book I described how that happened, but I didn't get when I auditioned, I didn't get it along with Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry, they got it. But I got it later in the same season that they started, but later on, 6 weeks before the end of the season. So I was so disappointed and bummed out that I didn't get it, that when I was hired, I was thrown in immediately to the show. I had a couple days to come to New York and start the next week. And I think I didn't have any time to prepare mentally, really. And I think that worked in my favor, because I'm one of those people where their minds just keeps going and overthinks. And that could really, kill you. Your mind can really kill you if you think too much. And I didn't have time to do that. And I think that was what really helped me out as a performer, and to do as well as I did in the beginning on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and your characters, as they became more popular, and you as a comedian became more popular, like that bigger stage comes with a lot of pressure too. You have to constantly deliver. You got to be better than the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Going as good as the last sketch in a way.
Sure.
So how do you handle that?
I didn't really think about that. I mean, I remember like a couple of weeks I started like Access Hollywood, and there was a lot of, they were giving me attention pretty quickly, and that was new for me. I just concentrated on the characters I had, always wanted to be like a Mike Myers, and so I came to the show with a trunk full of characters that were ready to go. So I had that as that was a great asset to have.
Yeah, take us behind the scenes of SNL. Like, teamwork is really important. That would be great.
Okay, sure. Could be a long podcast, probably.
Be a great podcast.
You'd have to hold the camera for a while.
Because going behind the scenes, teamwork is really important for everything. So, what do you think goes into teamwork? Like, how did you build good friends that you worked with, and what impact did that have on the end result of the sketches that you created?
Well, as I said, I was in the Groundlings, and that's where I worked with Will and people like Jennifer Coolidge and Lisa Kudrow, and of course later, Kate, Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy came from there. But that's where I learned how to work with people, because it's improv. You work in improv, you work with people, and there's rules to work with people. Like, that's the best way to improvise. You work with other people, so it really is a great way to train you to do teamwork. And so that really helped me at SNL, And for me, my favorite sketches were the ones where I wasn't necessarily alone, but with other people. It was a lot more fun to work with people in the sketch, like when you do something with Will or Molly or Maya, that's the best, because you're working with someone. It's a lot more fun to do that.
How important is comedy to our culture today? And how has it changed since you first were a comedian back in the day?
Comedy's absolutely, it's detrimental, honestly. It really is, especially nowadays. And it always has been. I always thought in a weird way, like if there was an apocalyptic moment or something, I think we'd really need to laugh. We're going to need to laugh anytime, honestly. I think laughter is something that is needed all the time, constantly, just like music, I think it's important.
If you analyze all the dating profiles, about 80% say looking for someone who can make me laugh.
Right. I don't know if that's necessarily true, because I'm not doing so well in the dating. But, I was actually on a dating app and I wrote my name, Chris Kattan, and someone went, how do I know that this is the Chris Kattan? I was like, why would I pretend I'm Chris Kattan? Of all people. Like Leonardo DiCaprio maybe, but not Chris Kattan.
Is that who you pretend to be?
I'm myself, which I should probably pretend to be Leonardo DiCaprio. I'd probably be better like for me.
What character do you play that you most relate to?
I guess, geez, that's hard. Probably Azrael Abyss, maybe. Probably the Mango, I guess.
Why?
Well, Mr. Peepers too. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know. Mango, I guess. I don't know. It's very hard. There's a little bit of me in all my characters.
What about your best impression?
Probably Al Pacino.
Can you do it quickly?
Hoo-ha! Where am I? I'm blind. There you go. I also like David Lee Roth. Zippity bop! Diddy bop! I ain't got nobody. I got nothing. That's my David Lee Roth. I just do people that scream, pretty much.
What was the biggest obstacle you had in your career, and how did you overcome it?
Once there was a huge door that I couldn't unlock. No, I'm joking. There was, that would probably be my injury that happened on Saturday Night Live. That was pretty big. Yeah, that was a huge obstacle, and had 5 surgeries along with that. And that really was a huge setback in my life and prevented me from working. And, and of course, pill addiction came along with that. And that was a huge setback, But I'm really, really happy to say that I'm doing great, and I'm doing stand-up now, which I never did before, and I'm clear-headed, and I have a lot of support. So it was a dark time for me, And but I think a lot of people, it's part of life. Everybody has their dark times and highlights and low times. And my book I would say is more about a comedian than it is about comedy. And I think that's what people like about it.
Did you learn anything new about yourself, or did you come to terms with something in your life based on writing the book?
I learned to use better moisturizer because when I first started writing, moisturizer was drying me out. And what else? I didn't know. I found out I learned to listen. Listen to people more. I was one that would talk too much, like overcompensate for myself, and not talk so much. Learn to listen. I think listening is really important.
Hugely important.
It is, yeah. But you need to still talk. Yeah.
Both.
Exactly.
And what's your best piece of career advice?
I would say to trust your instincts. Trust your instincts and don't let anybody get you down.
How do you do that?
By listening to your heart. Take everybody's thoughts and listen to everybody's considerations, but take it with a grain of salt because you know yourself better than anybody else does.
Excellent. Thank you so much
You're
for being on
welcome.
the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you.